We have a ton of good news, everybody, about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, and SSI and SSDI. There is a huge update on Social Security. Many seniors may be eligible to receive at least $100 extra in monthly benefits. The federal government may begin sending out $1,800 stimulus checks very soon to help with rising inflation. Here are some breaking news. Millions of seniors and others who receive Social Security benefits are on track for a big cost of living adjustment in early 2023 to catch up to the fiercest inflation in 4 decades. One group now estimates that the boost could be as high as 10.8%. By comparison, a Social Security official earlier this month said he expects a COLA bump of about 8% based on the current inflationary trends. But if inflation continues at its current pace, the cost of goods and services may accelerate to 8.6%, and seniors could receive a COLA hike of 10.8% in early 2023. According to new analysis from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, if inflation comes to a halt over the final months of 2022, seniors will receive a COLA increase of 7.3%. Some economists say that the scenario is unlikely because economists expect the cost of food, gas, and housing to remain elevated throughout the year. For instance, economists are forecasting that inflation rose 8.7% from a year ago. June inflation data will be released on July 13th. By contrast, economists are expecting inflation to moderate later in 2022, partly as the Federal Reserve's rate increases and making it more expensive for businesses and consumers to borrow. That suggests the Social Security COLA increase for 2023 will likely fall somewhere between 7.3 and 10.8%. The average monthly Social Security check is about $1,700, which means a bump of 10.8% will boost typical checks to around $1,900. But an increase of 8% would bump the typical check to about $1,700. The agency's COLA takes effect in December, with the updated benefits paid out beginning in January of next year. A COLA of 8%, everybody, or more would provide the biggest bump since 1981, when inflation was also running rampant. A bump of 8% would tie for the 4th biggest COLA in Social Security history. Now, with inflation on the rise and the threat of a recession looming, top Democrats hope to deliver some Americans with some relief. Ron Wyden, the leader of the tax-focused Senate Finance Committee, told reporters this week it's essential to do it because it responds to the pocketbook of Americans, financial concerns right now, and moves to cut costs right now, and also lays the foundation for further approaches. But the main obstacle is Joe Manchin, a moderate whose opposition last year paused the negotiations on the Build Back Better bill. Manchin has continued to believe that the U.S. should spend less and raise more than others in his party prefer. Increasingly, Democrats believe they will end up with a slimmer package than first envisioned. And this is all Joe Manchin's fault. Folks, what do you think about Joe Manchin and his work on stimulus? Is he doing all that it takes? Tell me in the comments.
His time has expired. The gentleman from Florida, Mr. Lawson, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Madam Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we're loud and clear, and we can see you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I want to thank Mr. Powell and welcome him back to the committee. I know it's a great deal that is going on. And Mr. Powell, I think earlier there might have been something that came from one another of my colleagues, and it was a rise in interest rate to combat inflation does come with a rise in unemployment rate and possibly contributing to an economic recession. While white unemployment rates have dropped to pre-pandemic levels of 3%, and in QI 2022, the national Black unemployment rate remains still at 6.5%. And I know something you can't say, but what suggestion can you offer to help prevent Black and other minority communities from facing future economic inequities as the Federal Reserve continue to raise rates in the near future?
If I heard your question correctly, it was whether we're considering additional future interest rate increases, sir?
That's correct.
Yes. So I think just last week, my colleagues and I wrote down our forecast for this year, and we anticipate ongoing rate increases over the course of this year. Yes, additional rate increases.
Do you believe that the Fed's current inflation projection of 2022 and 23 remains a good benchmark to consider, even with these vulnerability potentials growing in the upcoming months?
I think these are the projections that the latest projections that individual FOMC participants were submitted last Wednesday. So I think they're still fresh, and there's a range of expectations of people on the committee. But I think they're a reasonable set of projections. Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Powell, several of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have been debating about the Biden policy and so forth, which I know you can comment on. But there is a concern.
Facility, all right, that's up to date so that they can do their jobs even better. And this has been my priority for the last 15 years, and I will continue to do it. But now my next ask, Senator, forget about today. Come home with the money so that we could build a brand new hospital here. Thank you for all your support, Bob and Corey. Oh, Dr. Bonnie. All right, Dr. Bonnie. I'm introducing you. You're coming up here?
I am.
Are you for a new hospital?
I am.
All right, then make a cry to our senators.
I will. Thank you, everybody. My name is Stephanie Bonnie. I'm the Trauma Medical Director here at University Hospital for adults. I just want to recognize the executive leadership team of University Hospital, which has been so supportive of our trauma center. We were recently accredited to be a level 1 adult trauma center and a level 2 pediatric trauma center so that we can continue to serve the residents of New Jersey. I also want to recognize Dr. Livingston, who's my predecessor and was the adult trauma medical director here for many years, decades, and is the president of the American Association for the Surgery of Trauma. So we really do have the best people in the country working right here in Newark. Injury and trauma are the most common causes of potential